Hey, Matt Jackson.
Hey, Gary.
Welcome to VW Life, everybody.
Yes, and I want to say I'm proud of you.
Oh, it kind of gets me, Matt Jackson.
Today's a big day.
It's a big day. It is. It's kind of like, I don't know if it's closure, but it's another milestone.
An accomplishment.
An accomplishment, yes.
Gary has finished Spot. Spot is done.
Old Spot is done.
That's right.
Literally done. I mean, like done. Only thing I have to do is go put an alignment on it.
About 10 months ago, we drove to the big town of
Big D.
The Big D, and we got Old Spot from Mr. Peacock.
Yes, and you can see right down here, that episode is one of my favorite episodes because of the story of Old Spot, and Mr. Peacock sharing it with us was just so amazing. You know, so if anything, it's kind of a tribute to him and his legacy with this car and what he shared. And so I built this car for myself.
Yeah, you didn't keep it stock, but I don't think it needed to be stock.
No, I think with the patina and everything, as I wasn't going to touch the patina and everything, I think it kind of went in a little different direction for me, for sure. You'll see the results here in a second.
Yeah, let's look at the car. We'll go for a drive and let's have some fun with Old Spot today.
Yeah, because today's an Old Spot day. You guys always like to know. We bring a lot of stuff home and it just kind of disappears. Well, this one, here's some follow-up. So stick with us. This is going to be pretty cool. So just so you know, Spot's a 67. It was and has little remnants of VW blue on it. And I have a theory about this VW blue too. If you look at a lot of VW blue Volkswagen Beetles, they look like this. I think it was a primer thing, or I don't know what it was, but the paint just didn't stick. That's how I got its name in the first place with Mr. Peacock. He said he took it to the car wash and it just started peeling, the paint started peeling off, and that's how I got its name. You can kind of see right here, Old Spot. It's kind of what they just kind of hand lettered with some, I don't know, pipe fingernail polish or something, I don't know, and stuck it on there. So that's the story on this. You can see, I mean, it's burned up. The hood, I mean, look, this is where it's so interesting to me on these Volkswagens. I mean, this car set out, I mean, the hood wasn't off of it or something like that as compared to the roof, but look at the difference in the primer. So I always thought that was kind of unique in that regard.
Right, because if it all burned the same, this blue would be the same as this.
Yeah. So I mean, these are exposed the same. So it's how these things were prepped at the beginning from in Germany when they first made them. So again, over here on the front quarter there, the Old Spot's there too. So I have not done one thing to the body on this as far as the outer skin layer of it. I haven't even washed it. I think I'm just going to leave it like this. I think it's just going to continue to evolve like this. It's been sitting inside since we got it. It's been sitting inside since 1980. This car is now on the road for the first time literally since 1980. And if I do my math right, that's 41 years. 41 years this car sat. Needless to say, it needed a lot of going through. First things first is I had it had a 1500 in it that I took out, and I had this 1600 that I put together. It's a dual port, so it's got a nice little pickup on that. Our buddy of Volksbits, he's the main man for carburetors, built me a 34 pick for it. It's running a 009, usually not a really good combination. But if you tell Volksbits you're running a 009, he does a few tricks to the 34 pick to make it run well for you. A couple of cool things I really like about this. This is the original 67 breastplate because it has the two downspouts. I'm not using those. A 67 generator, I always like that, kind of with the plugs there. I'm really pleased with the little motor. It runs really strong. It's a 67 air cleaner on there too. And for dual port, seems to pull pretty good. This is what this car, I mean, look at that VW blue. Look at, that was preserved because the deck lid was down. Look at that, it's amazing. Just absolutely, this is a beautiful blue. It just really is. This is the only Bondo on the car right here. And of course I didn't touch it, and I'm not going to touch it. I want to show you a really cool thing right here. Mr. Peacock was telling us about this. This is on the left front fender. See this hole? It's like, how in the world did you get a hole that's kind of oval shaped right there in the fender? And he was telling us he had his cutting torch and he laid it down for it was on. He laid it down on probably on a bench or stool here, and the torch went over and burned through the fender. But that's the kind of stuff I like, man. Let's look under here.
So you did quite a bit of work because it had air conditioning. So
yes. So it had an AC in it. So and it also had a Eberspacher. So it had holes all in here, and they were pretty roughly cut. So I've patched all the holes here, patched all the holes in the back. Got some from, I think it's called Express Paint. They matched the VW blue. They did a really good job. You can see it blended really nicely there. Here's one of the coolest things about this car. I mean, obviously you can tell it hadn't been wrecked, but it's a little bit of kink right here, but nothing terrible. But look how dry this is down in here in the apron area, I had to put in a new fuel tank. So it has, that was probably one of the most tedious things was I didn't want to go through, because I didn't take the pan off, the body off the pan. So I didn't want to go through and run a new fuel line or anything like that. So I just worked and worked and worked that fuel line to get the gunk out of it. And finally it burst through. It was really nice.
So you had a clogged fuel line.
I had a clogged fuel line.
And
yeah.
you got it
It was totally clogged, and but just used an old clutch cable back and forth on a drill, and I went through several. And then you go like this long, and then you get another one a little longer, and it's just the stuff that would come out was terrible. But the fuel line's totally clean. Wolfsburg West has these really nice tanks. They fit perfect, look good. The original fuel sending unit works perfect. That's another thing that's so cool in this car. Look, I had the original wire cover, and the wiring on this, not one piece of wire's been hacked on this car. This is amazing. I mean, all electrics work. I had to go through and clean contact points, but that was really about it. I was just really stoked about that. That's just like a major accomplishment there for this car. It did have some rust. You can't see it anymore. At some point it had sat in both rear pan halves, had pretty bad rust. So I cut those out and put new pan halves in on both sides, battery tray and this side. But the rest of the pans were so solid. Cut out the old ones, welded in the new ones, blended it all in, seam sealed it, 415'd it, so it's totally good on that. So that from the rust, that was the main rust repair. That was the only rust repair. As far as the interior on it, I mean, it was pretty far gone. However, these are original door cards. And I mean, you got to keep them. I mean, you just had to. You see a lot of mat pockets that are just like, so I took it all apart and basically just kind of stretched it back out and then reattached it. And that's why it's got, it's a good mat pocket. It's got Wolfsburg West carpet, the nice carpet kit. It's not the German weave, sorry, Mad Martin. This is the synthetic, but it looks really darn good. I'm very proud. This is the right color combo for 67s. It's got the rubber mats from Wolfsburg West. They'll cut the piece of carpet at the front and sew that rubber mat down for you. So that's nice. Tar board was out, so I just put some rattle trap in there, or Dynamat, whatever you want to call it. Very pleased with that. And then I had Pablo put in a new headliner. So always, I mean, just a wonderful thing there. It's a Wolfsburg West headliner. Pablo does a great job for us on all our headliners on our Beetles and things. So he put the headliner in for me. Then we went in and, new scrapers, new pop-outs, new seal on the back glass, that kind of thing. So you can see the dash totally uncut. It has a red knob. I think that was for his Eberspacher. I just left it in here because it's kind of cool looking, very vintage knob looking thing with the dash so clean. Look how clean the dash is. Steering wheel's original. Look, this is original. This is what like gets me going crazy, is when you run into something original like this. And that's what I like. Now, obviously, some people go, well, the seats aren't original. Well, you're right. It had Camaro seats in it. He had welded in some Camaro seats. They were really cool. And the good news is I was able to sell these Camaro seats to a guy who really wanted them for his Camaro. They were kind of turquoise looking. So I sold those. I had these seats. I'd picked these up probably, I don't know, maybe 6, 8, 7 years ago. I mean,
I think they work.
I do too, man.
Close the door and
yeah, I mean, look at the patina and the brown and the diamond pile. I mean, because the car is, sitting on these BRMs, I put adjustable beam in the front, so it's a little lower, that kind of thing. I think the seats work with it, because it's just custom enough to kind of go, okay, So, which is definitely not my norm, but I'm just so pleased on how it's turned out, and it's just, it's been kind of like a good project. It's my summer project. I go to school tomorrow, and the car's done. And that's like, that was my goal, to get this car done this summer, and it's done. So I'm very, very happy about that. Complete new brakes, everything's new on the brakes. Stem to stern, all new brakes all the way through. These BRMs are just like, that's my dream wheel. I just love those things, they're really cool. And then we'll talk about the saga of this windshield. So we had a windshield and we were getting it so close to get it to go in, and we had a little accident right here. And we won't name any names. Jackson.
I broke it.
Yeah, he had we figured out he was exonerated, and I'll explain that. So then we ordered another one. They sent the wrong one. We got one for a vert. Now here's I'm a bus guy, so I'm going, man, this glass. I get it all set up. I'm going, this glass doesn't fit. It was for a vert. It wouldn't fit in here. So I'm like, okay, back to square one. So I ordered another piece of glass, and by this time I'm learning a lot about putting seals on, and put these things on dry, the rubber. Then when it comes to put the trim in, you're gonna just little silicone in the trim to help you once you get the rubber on. But if you put silicone on the rubber first, you're screwed because it won't stay on the glass, the rubber won't. Once you get the rubber on the glass, then put your trim in, then you can put it into the window. Well, since I was taking off and on, that rubber had just had, so we finally got some good rubber, some good Wolfsburg rubber. And then Steve-O was able, I got to a point where Jake and I had the right windshield and we were about 2/3 of the way through and the trim popped out and I said, I can't do it anymore. So my buddy Steve-O was able to take care of it, and he and I are getting ready to put it in a window, and right here, guess what happened? It cracked again. And Steve-O goes, he's probably he's worked at a resto shops for Volkswagens before. He said that's only the 3rd window I've ever broke. So all right, let's investigate what's going on. And if you know here on the windshield frame, the 2 pieces of body come together, and they just kind of, well, what had happened here was, my guess is probably, it didn't look like it was any kind of damage. It was just a factory thing. It was just out like this with a little lip. So what happened was when you got to right here where we both times it cracked, the rubber seal was just putting too much pressure on the glass and it cracked. So what I was able to do is get a hammer and dolly, bring those back together and come in and trim that little lip. Voila, that was it. So I know from now on when I look at glass, I'm gonna run my finger all the way around, and if I see it where it's spread out, check that, because that gave us some fits. You know, look, man, seals and the trim make a car. I think that and the wheels, you know, just that's what does it. It just really makes a difference. So I'm so happy with this car.
Yeah, that's just a cool little tip on the windshield. But hey, Gary, I say we go for a little drive.
Let's take Old Spot for a spin around the hood. What say you, Matt Jackson?
Let's go.
Let's do it.
All right, let's go.
Here we go. Always a good sign. And it has reverse.
All the gears?
Golly, I got in here and started driving it. I was like, you know, I mean, first drive, and it's like I had 1st gear, 2nd gear, I couldn't find 3rd at all. I'm like, oh no. And it's like, oh. So I adjusted the shifter. I was like, man, that thing's really feels wumpy. And like back in the back, the coupler was just destroyed. Mush.
Yeah. Woo, this is smooth.
Oh yeah, I feel that speed. Not too shabby, huh?
Not too shabby.
Living the Beetle life. Stay over there, Bambi.
Wow, it's really pulling this hill up.
Yeah,
it's really pulling.
It's got some pretty good juice.
We hope this inspires you guys to get out and keep working on your Volkswagens.
Oh man, yeah, it's just, I was fortunate enough that I have summers to work on Volkswagens. And I mean, I truly treated it, it was my job. I mean, you know, my plan every day was, I was in the shop by 8, took an hour for lunch, and then went back out and worked till 5. So I mean, I treated it was a job. And so I know most of us don't have that, you know, that luxury or that opportunity.
But a little bit here and a little bit there pays off.
That's the biggest thing I always tell everybody, and you guys probably get tired of me saying it, but it's like, you just gotta do one thing a day. If you can just do, I mean, I don't care how small or how ginormous it is, you know, and if you do one thing, it'll get done, but if you don't do anything, it won't get done. Well, we did it.
That was fun.
You like Old Spot?
Yes.
Runs like a top.
Man, good job, Gary.
Thank you, Matt Jackson. I've said this before to you guys, when we're working on the Harvest Beetles or the 63, when we got the crew working, it's just so amazing how fast stuff gets done. Because when it's one dude working on a car, it takes a lot longer.
Right. We got this car about 10 months ago, and Gary, behind the scenes, nights, weekends, been putting in the hours to get it done. We didn't film any of it because it was...
Yeah, it was just me kind of working. So it was a labor of, it was fun. You know, it was my summer project. It didn't go as quickly as I'd like, but none of them do. You always run into little snafus or waiting for a part or something like that. But I'm really, really happy with this car. I'm going to drive that you-know-what out of it for a while, man. I'm really going to enjoy it.
It'll look so good at Top Notch next month.
Oh yeah, it's definitely going to be at Top Notch next month. That's right. It'll make its debut.
Thanks for watching. If you like what you see, hit the subscribe button, leave us a comment. And,
yes, and buy some Merc.
Buy some Merc.
You can't pass that up. Buy some Merc. We appreciate you guys so much. Make sure you tell your aunts, tell your uncles, tell everybody you know about VW Life. The VW community, we're all a part of it. This is what it's all about. We thank you guys for joining us, man. Thanks so much, y'all, and we'll see you soon.